Thanks for coming out. My name is Glenn Whipp. I'm with the LA Times, and I know if you brave this parking structure today on a Sunday, that you must really want to see this movie. Yeah. So we have a reward. We have the star of the film, Mikey Madison, here. And we have the writer, director, editor, producer, Sean Baker. So we've just gone on this journey. These people have. You have too. We all have. And what do you? So the ending. Let's talk about. Let's start with the ending, because I know you're anxious to explain what these people have just seen. But when you by time. Well, we were talking. We just came from another theater where we're doing a Q&A. And did you film the ending of this film at the end of the shoot? You know, before you went to Vegas? Was that like the last?
It was close to the end.
Yeah.
For whatever reasons, mostly technical reasons, we had to keep pushing it back on our schedule. And we wanted to shoot by October anyway, so yes, it was near the end of the shoot.
And did it change from what you had on the page? Because I saw an interview with Mikey saying, you were saying kind of it was like a paragraph, but by this time, you felt like Annie and Igor had it, you know, gone on a bit of a journey, and you had some thoughts, or both of the actors had thoughts about how the scene might evolve.
Well, it didn't change much from the first draft, actually. It's one of the few things that didn't change. So it was all there. The only thing that may have been different was there was maybe a few lines of dialogue. And that was something that we decided closer to shooting, maybe even on the day of, I'm not sure, forgot. But we removed any of the dialogue from that last shot so that all the communication was nonverbal at that point. And, sorry, what? Oh, I don't want to break the fourth wall.
Okay, no.
No, but it was pretty damn close. And it was a very stressful scene to shoot because I always consider, you know, endings to be the most important part of cinema storytelling. And so the pressure was on, and there was a lot of thought going on, a lot of, you know, technical cues, but then also emotional cues, obviously. And I just say, you know, thanks to my amazing cast and crew, they gave me what I needed. They gave me what I wanted.
What were you whispering to Sean just now?
No, I was remembering, you know, I would say the scene evolved a little bit, but it was mostly what was on the page, but like what Sean said, eventually we decided it would be more impactful without dialogue, and there were a couple little moments throughout that evolved, but I agree with Sean. I actually think it's better not to talk too much about a moment like that. I think leaving a lot of it up to audience's interpretation, I think, is more impactful, and sometimes when you pull the curtain back too much, I think the effect or the feeling that you can get from the scene can be, I don't want to say damaged, but affected in some way. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are very simpatico when it comes to like letting the audience come away, and you know, a few hundred people here, I bet there's just dozens of different interpretations about where these characters might go.
And I like that. That's how it was designed. And I know my favorite films always, the films I look back on fondly are the ones that allowed me to do a lot of the heavy lifting at the end. Meaning, because it allows me, it allows the audience to sort of to write the ending if they want to. And again, there's so much. We don't have narration on this film. We don't really, we don't hear her inner thoughts. So really, it really is designed to be left up for interpretation, because we don't know what is in any head.
What's your favorite ambivalent ending in a movie?
Oh, God, oh my goodness. Okay, by the end of the Q&A, I'll.
Okay. Did you, I read somewhere where you wrote, though, an epilogue.
Yeah, we did, and the actors got that epilogue. I will never tell any of you what exists in that epilogue, but it was where I saw it going, and just to put it in their heads. And they could agree with me or not, but it was, and whether that was a good idea, I don't know, but I wanted to at least tell my actors what I was thinking.
Did you think it was a good idea?
I don't know if I thought about it in terms of like if it was a good idea or not, but I do remember reading that ending specifically and thinking, there's no way we're gonna shoot this. It was a very it was too heartwarming in some ways maybe, or I don't know, something about it I felt, it wrapped things up in too perfect of a bow, I think. And so I remember reading it and thinking, I think this is not gonna work in the movie.
So, French Connection has a good. Because when Popeye goes through that door and you hear that you don't know exactly what happened, and I think that, and French Connection has obviously a major influence on this film. I mean, we even do a few nods in Toros's race towards the mansion. So that's my answer for you.
Okay. Yeah, and even like gritty New York, like the look of the film.
Oh, definitely. Owen Roisman, who shot that film, also shot The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, and those were two films that Drew Daniels and I really studied to see how to capture New York on film and in a widescreen format. And then, Taking of Pelham takes place underground in dark subway, and French Connection has a lot of nighttime sequences. So how to shoot the night, how to shoot night in New York without over lighting and trying to use as much natural lighting as possible, getting an exposure. so yeah.
I remember you telling me that, like, this, from the time that the car was towed to them going back to the club and finding even, it was like, you thought it was gonna be about 30 minutes in the movie.
Yeah.
How did it not?
I don't know. That was the one surprising part for me. That I think it was during production, we started to realize, okay, we called it the crawl. It was post the tow truck incident and before we revealed Yvonne again at HQ. We were going to spend time with this motley crew, out on the streets of Brighton Beach, looking for Yvonne in all the establishments. And we shot a lot. We shot a ton. But then it was just, it was that one. I was wrong about how long we'd be in that section. I think we needed to speed it up. So it got whittled down to about 4.5 to 5 minutes at the most. But it was fun to shoot, I have to say, because we shot it in a very docu-style way. We went on the Bright Beach Boulevard on several nights, and we would have our actors go into some of these restaurants, these establishments, and we would shoot it from the sidewalk without the patrons of the restaurant knowing. So they had their wireless mic, and they would go in, and Karen would be going from table to table with this photo of Yvonne saying, have you seen this guy, have you seen this guy? And we would get gold, like that woman saying, oh, perhaps he was kidnapped, or stuff like that. And then, of course, then we would say, look right over there, you see there's a camera where this is an independent film, would you please sign this release? And 100% of the time they would say yes. That doesn't really happen in LA. Because people are a little more savvy with the industry here, and that's a whole other topic. But anyway, it was really fun to shoot, and my actors were incredible. They had to improvise all that stuff.
And in the last Q&A, you're kind of promoting the value of physical media, Blu-ray, DVD. I feel like with this movie, you have, like, if you really want to reward people and kind of incentivize some physical media purchases. You have so much footage.
There's a lot that was left on the cutting room floor, a lot of gold, a lot.
What do you want to see,
killing
my
my
darlings? It's not, that wasn't in this movie. What do you want to see? Like what do you want to see more of on the Blu-ray?
I don't know, I honestly think that the way Sean edited the film, it's perfect. I don't really like using that word, but I think that everything that needed to be in the film ended up there. But I do remember Sean leaving me all these like voice messages talking about hilarious things that happened, a lot of things in the club, like situations that are completely improvised, and like Annie going up to clients. I mean, he would send me voice memos like hysterically laughing, talking about some of these things. And so I wish that I could, even if I just get to see some of those, because I don't really remember them.
You're talking about like the opening of the movie where you're going from client to client. And it's like
a lot.
Like 4.5 minutes in the movie, but you shot three
3 bags, so it's like 30 minutes of just setting up the club in the beginning, and it was really reliant on Mikey doing all that improv. I had her just wander in the club, and we would shoot her with a telephoto lens going from person to person, and having a different interaction with each person. And it really, that was able to happen because of the amount of research Mikey did, spending time at that club, shadowing dancers, understanding how these interactions and transactions take place. There were also two big scenes with Ivy Woke that were removed because of timing. Maybe those scenes will make it onto a disc sometime. They set up her character a little bit more and had a lot more of her amazing, comic improv.
The one section of the film that I think is just pretty much intact and is the home invasion, which is 28 minutes. It's
28 minutes.
Yeah, and Mikey, you had I think when you guys were discussing this before shooting it, Sean asked for some thoughts, and you were like more brawl. Is that what I understand was your request, or more brawl?
I think that me saying like more brawl the better was referencing a fight at the club between Annie and a coworker. It wasn't referencing the middle home invasion scene.
But there's a lot of brawl in that too. When you were saying that, when you shot that before the opening scene, and you still had bruises left over from the home invasion scene, that was a real physical.
Yeah, Mikey was doing her own stunts with Yura for the home invasion. It's quite impressive.
And yet, and we were talking about this last week, Yura is from the moment you meet him or see him in that home invasion scene, you see just this little flash of something. My assumption when I saw it was okay, this guy's just a goon, and he's just in there, he's the muscle. But then you immediately see these soulful looks on his face, there's something simmering underneath. Was that always there, and how much did you develop that?
Well, yeah, that had to be there because obviously we knew where it was going. But he gave me an incredibly consistently subtle performance all the way through, and it was really up to me to be how much to hold on him sometimes, in the edit. That would determine when we show our hand, or if we show our hand. Overall, Yura is just an absolutely incredible actor. He plays Eager in the film, in case you guys don't know who we're talking about. Yura Borisov. I saw him in Compartment Number 6, a wonderful Finnish film that I highly recommend, directed by Juho Kuusmanen, who was at Cannes. Yura was there with Red Rocket, and I had already been developing this story, so I knew it was going to be this heavy character, and the minute I saw Yura on the big screen, I knew it was for him. So actually, he was precast, Carm was precast, and Mikey was precast before I wrote the screenplay.
And Mikey, you were telling me that Eura kind of took you a little by surprise. Like, yeah, can you talk about working with him and how that changed, like what you expected the relationship between? Because yeah, obviously we know where the story's going, but I don't know the depth of it is just took me by surprise.
Eura is just a very unique, surprising person in general. And so I think inherently the characters he plays, he brings so much of that into it. He's an incredibly talented actor. He's such an interesting, specific perception of character. And I mean, what I read on the page was amazing, but what Eura brought to it I would never have imagined that kind of character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember just starting to work with him, and my character, I was just sort of like hurling insults at him, and he looked like genuinely hurt by it. And it's such an interesting choice as an actor to have his character be so hurt by those things.
Like he's the tough guy, but no, you're hurting him by saying these things.
He brought a sensitivity and, like you said, a deep soulfulness to his character that I never would have thought would be there.
Yeah.
And so inherently that changes how Annie acts towards him. It changes so much, and he's constantly surprising me and bringing all this interesting improvisation and physicality into his character. And so I think that it informed a lot of how Annie feels about him. And I always felt his eyes on me too.
Mm-hmm.
Always watching me, like even when we weren't shooting, but not in a weird way, just in a thoughtful way. The way that he had immersed himself into the character, it was very generous of him.
And it kind of made you laugh too. Like, I remember you telling me one time that like you guys were during the home invasion scene, he's got you in a bear hug there on the couch, and stopped filming, and he was asking, am I holding you too tight or what? Do you remember that? Like, yeah.
That was, we literally only knew each other for a couple
Right.
days, and that entire sequence was so exhausting to shoot, like mentally and physically. And I'm having to like sit on Eura's lap, and he's like bear hugging me for like 2 days or something. And so and my hands are like tied behind my back, so I kept getting up, and I was like, Eura, like I'm worried that I'm like crushing you or something. And he was just hugging me, and he was like, no. He was just giving me like a sweet hug. He was comforting me in that moment, and it was just very kind of him and sweet. That's just the kind of person that he is, very, very loving.
And he brought so many ideas to the table. I mean, it was his idea to have it be Eager's birthday the day before. He pitched it to me. Thank you, dude. I wrote it right in. He brought Mark to the picture because we were thinking about stunt casting the Yvonne role with a young pop star, like a hip hop star, and he said, well, this character, it requires some depth here. I don't know if you're gonna get that from a non-actor. I just worked with this wonderful young actor by the name of Mark Edelstein, and I highly recommend him. Well, there he is.
Yeah. Well, we've got the wrap up time. We've got to go to another theater. It's a movie I could talk about for hours. Maybe the Blu-ray bonus features, right? More Q&As. But thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. And
you guys came out and saw it on the big screen, and it means so much to us. We shot this film for theaters, so thank you for supporting theaters, and thank you for supporting. Woo!